in 1975, Cambodia had 7 million of people, and 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days later, there was only 4 million people left. That means 3 million lives have been lost at that time, and also a lot of my family.
Hello and welcome in the Havel channel. We have a very interesting guest today, visiting from Paris, but originally from Cambodia, a survivor of the genocidal regime of the Cambodian communists, also called Khmer Rouge, and a very accomplished filmmaker, Mrs. Roshane Saidnattar. Welcome in the Havel Library.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here, and especially in the Czech Republic, because we had a very long story together with the communists, and I already heard about Czechoslovakia when I was in Cambodia in the communist time. A lot of Cambodians were sent to the communist countries, and also in the Czechoslovakia at that time to collaborate between communist countries. So I'm glad to be here and talking about the communist time.
Yes, that's probably not the happiest connection that we could have between Cambodia and the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia, but that's fine. So, Roshane, I would like to ask you, you were 7 years old when the Cambodian communists, the Khmer Rouge, overran Phnom Penh and immediately started removing all population to the countryside. You were a girl of 7 years, so a very small child. How did you relate to the situation? How does a child of that age understand the world of adults around her who suddenly start behaving very strangely?
At that time, I remember very well my childhood before the communists took the power. I live in a very happy family, very happy childhood, and the thing that I am very proud is being part of Cambodian people, because Cambodian people is known as the people of smile and people who are gentle, and we live in the country neutral, not aligned to the Cold War, because the Cold War was separate between communists and free side, and our government decided, the king of Cambodia decided to keep Cambodia as a neutral country, so we were quite saved by the war. But at that time, I heard already a lot of American bomb threw on Cambodia, but I didn't know very much, and we didn't care about that because we thought that we were safe. That's what my parents said to me. I live in the family who live with a universe of arts. My mother was a producer, film producer, and also she was director of a company of fabric import-export. So she was the first woman who was in a wealthy situation, not depending to a man, to her husband. And I was very proud to see her very, very beautiful. She was around 34 years old, and it's the age that everything is open for the future. And for the children, like my brother and I have elder brother and me, we are only 2 children in the family. And we live like a European style, because my father family come from India, Pondicherry, and Pondicherry was the it was French colony, and when the French colony ended, the people who lived there could get the French nationality. So my grandfather was French, and then I'm born French in Cambodia by aligned family. And I was in the French school. We live with Christmas gift everywhere, with Christmas trees, etc. And every day I saw a lot of the most movie star came at home, and every time in the week my parents show the movie at home also, and let a lot of people come to see the movie at our home, because at that time we didn't have the video like today, so we had to go to the cinema, and my mother organized the show at home, and all the area, the people who live near us came and watched like a cinema every day at home. And in Asia, we live with a lot of family. If you are in a wealthy situation. So my mother helped a lot of her family, and a lot of her brother and sister live with us. I got 3 uncles. One was film director. That's why my mother create a film producer, because she can count on my uncle who directs the movie in the production company. And I got another uncle who was teacher of classical dance, and another one was a student, 23 years old, law student. He student on law, and also he was teacher of English and karate. It's karate, and we live in a universe of knowledge and art, and I felt that I was very privileged, and the future promised us and me to be quite someone who can succeed and who will not be in trouble.
But that future changed in 1975, right?
Yes. Unhappily, the Vietnam War spread in Cambodia, and the bomb threw from the 52
B-52s?
Yes, B-52 through in Cambodia, and I remember very well one day I was at school and we heard the noise like this and boom, and then I didn't see anything. There was a lot of smoke and we couldn't go out. There were a lot of death around us, and I stayed there for a while, and I saw my karate teacher uncle arrive without his shirt because of the smoke and the fire, and took me from the class and run in the street to our house. At that time, I asked him what happened, and he said, "The bomb. The bomb is everywhere. It's everywhere. So we have to be we have to escape and to hide each other and to stay at home." And at that time, I didn't go to school. Everywhere was closed, even for the business of my mother. And one day, quickly, there wasn't any bomb, and I understand that the U.S. Army leave Cambodia. They decided to stop the war. They decided to stop the war. Not the war. They decided to leave us in the communist hand, because after around 2 weeks, the communists arrived and occupied the country very easily, and then we became the like a prisoner with the Khmer Rouge, and in the name of Western, in the name of America, the Khmer Rouge, the Khmer communists, they hate the Western, they hate the freedom, and as we live freely, as we live like the European style, not European style, just modern style, just a civilized style, but civilized style means influenced by European.
Right.
So we were like, we became quickly the enemy of the Khmer Rouge, of the Khmer communists, and what happened in Afghanistan when I saw the U.S. Army leave Afghanistan, it made me remind that the U.S. Army left Cambodia at that time and let us in the hand of the executor of the, and so I cry when I saw what happened in Afghanistan, because it made me remind the millions of lives die and lost because of the abandon of the war.
And your life started to change immediately, right? So you were moved in the countryside. So how did you navigate that world? How did that happy family life of a big family, well-to-do family in Phnom Penh suddenly change for you? And how was your relationship with the adults and with your family? Was there any family left for you? Did you still have contacts with your relatives, with your?
Yes, the Khmer Rouge took the power on the 17th April 1975. When they arrived, they asked every people to leave our house to leave our house with empty hand. It's like suddenly you live here in Prague and a group of people come, communist people, you can say, come and ask you to abandon everything that your ancestor led you, your heritage, and live without anything to take with you, empty hand. So that day, the year become zero. It's like you are alone and without help and without anything. They didn't allow even taking shoes, you know. We have to live with without nothing. And then they ask us to convince us to leave our house. They told that we had to live only for 3 days to escape from the American bomb, because we were at that time very in trauma with the bomb around 5 or 7 years already. So the only thing that we wanted at that time, that the silence, we wanted the silence, that means without the sound of the bomb, and peace. And when the bomb stopped bombing and the Khmerus arrived, we thought that it was the end of the war. So we were very happy. And we believe what they said. If they said, you have to leave only for 3 days and you can come back, it's just to clean if there the enemy, the American army is here. So you want to collaborate their organization. But 3 days later, we didn't allow to come back, and we have to go to the rural area, rural zone, and their plan was to make us work in a labor camp, because they organized already that they have to eliminate any people who was influenced by modern style life and by Western. So my family was the target of the elimination, because
you were educated and well-to-do.
I told you already.
Right.
Yes.
You had a very interesting story about your uncle. So do you want to tell it to the listeners?
I can tell you about my uncle. My uncle who helped me from the bomb, which threw in my school. I loved him very much because he was very close to me. He brought me to the cinema, to everywhere that a child liked to do. And at that time, when the Khmer arrived, we stayed together. And in the Khmer Rouge, they ban everything except walking. Walking, that means building the dike to stock water and to feed and to grow rice only. It was the only job that all Cambodians did at that time. When I say they ban everything, they ban everything, even love. And how you can stop the feeling to a human? the human error, you can ban, you can stop, maybe you can correct your behaviors, not to be intellectual or educated behaviors to a very bad and not educated people. You can try, but your heart you can't control. And my uncle fell in love to a woman, and he knew very well that if he fell in love to someone, that means death for him, even for that woman. But you know, he was 22 or 23 years old, so he tried to meet her or to look at her, and we didn't allow to stay with each other. They separate women and men. They didn't.
This was already in the labor camp, right?
Yes, and even the children, we didn't allow to stay with our parents. And how he can meet that woman, and then the communists, the thing that they did is to brainwash children. They asked the children to denounce the adults what they did by giving them a lot of not a lot of things, but the thing is feeding them. A lot of children denounce the family, but in my family, my mother told us already what to do to help each other. Otherwise, if someone make a mistake, everyone in the family could die. So I knew that. So my uncle asked me a lot of time to go with him when he want to see his loved one, and I went with him. And when the Khmer Rouge, when you say the Khmer Rouge, it just means the Cambodian people who live as a peasant. Yes. So when they asked me where I went, why I stay with my uncle, I just said I can. I go with them. I went with him. If he did something wrong, don't worry, I can tell them. So with my alibi and my complice, I help his love, so he can meet his the woman that he loves. That it took very long, not very long time, a few months, and one day he came from his labor camp and he crossed in front of her hut. He was alone, and he stayed in front of her hut just to see her, because it was very long time that he didn't see her. And someone, maybe a colleague in the labor camp of him, he knew and tell to a leader, to a chief, and they arrest him. I didn't see him. There was a child run and come and tell me and my grandmother that my uncle was arrested, and I discovered later that he was arrested only by looking at that woman. Right. And you look at a woman, that means you have a feeling to her, and it was forbidden. Right. And I realized that it's very cruel. How you can arrest someone just you look at someone. So at that time we control ourselves not to where you how to look at.
That's really crazy. So you had some basic understanding of the Khmer Rouge, the communist regime, already as a kid in Cambodia. But when do you think you developed like a full sense of what happened in Cambodia in 1975? Was it only after you left the country and went to France to study?
I realized very little by little, because my life has changed suddenly. So as a child, I asked a lot of questions to my parents. At that time, my parents were separate. I didn't see my father. And I saw my mother like once a year. I asked already in 1975 when the Khmer Rouge arrived. I asked a lot to the adults in my family, especially to my parents, why we have to leave our home, why we have to leave without anything, because I need my bed, why we didn't allow to sleep in the bed and sleep on the ground like poor people, because we have all kind of things. And my parents just said to me, we are in the war. The war is like this. And I asked them, what is the war? And they said, wow, it's very difficult to answer, but you will understand later when you will be older. And I said, when I will be older, maybe it's too late, or I won't understand now what happened. And they try to resume very shortly that I understand very young, that he said, you have to understand the war is only between two sides, the communist and the freedom side. And so when you hear that bloc libre, bloc free, bloc freedom side, for me freedom is mean a lot of things. And now the Cambodia is ruled by communists. So everything that I saw at that time mean communist, mean labor camp, mean to ban everything like a human need, everything that human need is banned. So I even love, even thinking, even talking, even watching is harder to live in this situation. And at that time, you know, when I work in the labor camp, it means the whole country. There was not a separate part, labor camp and not labor camp. The whole Cambodia was become a labor camp. And I watched, you know, we were forbidden to eat also. And Cambodia was a very rich of nature everywhere. In the nature you can eat, there are a lot of fruits, trees, fruits, a lot of animals. We don't how to say like this because now we are in the ecologist time. But when you are hungry and you see fish swim in the water and you didn't allow to take it to grill, but you have only a bowl of water and herb to eat, you are very jealous to see the fish were more free than me at that time. And I realized that we live worse than animals and it's like in the hell. And year later, when I arrived to France, and I can compare it, what I lived before and what the children in my age were at that time, and I understand that the children like me who came from the Khmer Rouge time, we were not very normal. That just means that we live a lot of life, a lot of difficulties, a lot of experience like the adult already, and if we were alive and arrive to Europe, that means already that you escape from death, because all of those time, a lot of my family was disappear, and a lot of my compatriots also lost their life too, because in 1975 Cambodia had 7 million of people, and 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days later, there was only 4 million people left. That means 3 million lives have been lost at that time, and also a lot of my family.
So despite all the atrocities in Cambodia committed by the communists, by the Khmer Rouge, there were in the West a lot of apologists for the regime. Some of them quite famous, like Malcolm Caldwell in Britain or Noam Chomsky in the United States. So I imagine that when you came to the West, and even now probably, you must very often come across these people who have been trying to defend the regime of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia in the 70s. So what do you think about these theories and these people who try to defend them?
At that time, I tried to say about when I arrived to France and I went to school and university, especially at university, a lot of my teachers were in the socialist side, and they defend the communists also, and I didn't understand. I tried to tell them what happened, what they defend, and when they get the power, and what they did after to the people. So there was 2 things that they have to know, that they defend an ideological system that was utopic, because when they get the power, what they want to realize, it have to happen by killing. That means eliminate a lot of people who opposite from them. And I was it was very painful for me to know that all of these socialist people, I'm not against the socialist people, I just want to testify the result, and the result of their defense, like in that time you say peace and love movement. Peace and love movement, it was a movement want to stop the Vietnam War. Vietnam War mean you defend the communists. That means they want the communists spread everywhere in the world. And one of my teacher, a cinema teacher, said in 1975 when the Phnom Penh fall, a lot of his colleagues asked him to stop teaching and asked him to go out to celebrate the victory. And I was almost crying in the class to hear that, because that means they celebrate our death, you know. And I would like to say that now we point our finger only to the 5 Khmer Rouge leaders to be judged in the trial, but they couldn't be a leader and a dictator, and they could not be the dictator without the support of all of those people who live peacefully in Europe, because they support them. And now I think they forget what happened to Cambodian people, to Cambodians who were dead, like in this book that was very well described. And I tried to testify that time that they should be judged in the trial also, because it's very, very dangerous to support wrong side, right. Because you have to know what's happened and what is the result. And even nowadays, a lot of people support without thinking about the result in the future. They forget that what the communists did in the world, and now they let the communists with a mask to spread in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, and in the whole world, without thinking about the future result. That means also they support a system who could kill themselves one day. Right. And my testimony here today, that just only I want to say, please don't make the same mistake. My experience is enough already to show and to make people learn how to choose the wrong side. And make people to think, not to be weak in front of the communists. We don't need to say communists. Just to say without when you are in front of the les moyens, money, and human become weak, and they forgot that what could happen to their children, to the new generation later, because what they do today, they are killing their children in the future.
So when you say that we can forget in front of the money about our future, are you talking about China specifically? That seemed to me to be the suggestion. In any case, Cambodia has been basically a pawn of the big powers, right? And probably the most direct influence on the fate of Cambodia came from China and to some degree from Vietnam.
What I can say about my experience is, I'm very sorry, but when Cambodia become a dictator and the whole Cambodia become a labor camp, the government was supported by the communists and the communists of China. They should know, and they can't deny that. They couldn't deny how to look. Even you type in the Google, they show it's not what I want to denounce and what I say. They cannot stop my mouth because it's written in internet also. But what I live at that time, Cambodia was supported, the Khmerus was supported by China. China at that time, maybe it's different, maybe. I don't want to testify what happened today, but I just want to say that now we Cambodian people, the victim people like me, who had this kind of experience, like someone kill a lot of members of your family, how you can 30 years later like that person? You can't. So what happened in Cambodia in 30 years before, it's still in our, it's still our painful, and we want to escape from even that. People become maybe better, I don't know, but it's too late.
But China is again very influential in Cambodia today, right? It seems that the regime of Hun Sen very much depends on the support that is coming from the People's Republic of China. So has Cambodia come a full circle, that it's again, it's again the Chinese supporting local former Khmer Rouge bureaucrats like Hun Sen?
We are very afraid about the same thing would happen, because nowadays what the Khmer Rouge did started seem become continuing to realize to have the result of what China want 30 years before, and even more than 30 years before in Cambodia, what they wanted to get as the result. Because I don't think that the same thing what happened in Cambodia, it's happened only in Cambodia. I realize that it's happened a lot of country already, and I'm sorry, it's the responsibility is the same country, and I feel very. I have a lot of compassion. What's happened in Tibet, what's happened in Taiwan today, because I think what the international countries or opinion didn't help Cambodia at that time. Okay, one country, one people lost a lot of lives already, but please don't let all those countries happen the same. And I still say that Cambodia at that time could be safe if international opinion did something, but they didn't, and they are for me also guilty, right? Because there are a law that if you are not say people who are or who are in danger, you are complicit as not save people who are in danger, not assistant to the people who are in danger, right. And that's what happened in Cambodia. And what happened today, you have to react, I think, because one country, two countries is enough, but not to let the whole world happen the same. And I don't believe that the communists have a good an intention, because if it had its intention very good, the communists keep alive and had a lot of support already. The fall of the communists, like in Berlin, like in Czech Republic, and even in Russia, even it's that means what because they are the wild people for me. I'm sorry to say that, because I think I'm very comment dire, I have the right to say that, because my experience, what I had, I don't want the other people have the same thing. And if I am a survivor, I would like to give the voices to the other people who are not here, like Hangao, yes.
So, today there's another accusation of genocide going on in Xinjiang, right, in the Uyghur region of the People's Republic of China. So, curiously, you didn't mention Xinjiang when you were talking about things that were going on in China, but are you following what's going on in Xinjiang? And do you think it's a similar genocide to what happened? Of course, the methodology is very different, but do you think it's similar to what happened in Cambodia?
I feel very painful and feel already what's happened inside this problem, because I live that. Even it's not directly made by China government, but it was Pol Pot. Pol Pot was a pupil of Mao Zedong. He said he would like to do better than Mao Zedong in the program. Mao Zedong said he would like to create a program of building China better in 15 years. And Pol Pot said he could do better. He want to do only for 5 years and make Cambodia becomes one of the most powerful, etc. But happily it ended before 5 years, because otherwise I am not here today. So what happened with the Uyghur is very painful, and I think it's too long enough already. In Cambodia, it's happened 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days, and it was overthrown by the communists, influenced by Russia. It's still the same communists, but it's different. We could walk, we could look at each other, so it led us to escape from Cambodia and arrive to Europe. With the China system, I mean Pol Pot system, we couldn't move at all. We couldn't stay near each other more than 3 people, more than 2 people. That means 3 people, you were arrested already. Yes, so what happened there, I can't testify for them. That what I can say, that it's not easy, and it must be harder than what happened. Any dictator is there is any dictator is easier or works, etc. I think it's the same. They try to do the same thing, that eliminate people who are against them. Right. Against, that means just to live in freedom, to live. We don't need much freedom. We just want to eat enough, to think, to behave like a human, and to do what we like in life. Because how you can live and you can create without freedom?
So let's hope we can maintain that freedom. And thank you so much for this conversation, and thanks also to our listeners. Thank you.
I would like to add that after all of this bad experience, I had 3 values that I realized the most important in life is, of course, you need really very, very much to live is freedom. If you don't have freedom, it's like you are deaf. And freedom, of course, but love. If you have love, you can maintain your life longer, because you want to live for your loved one. Or if you don't have someone love you, you don't mind. If you love someone, it's enough to keep you alive. So to have freedom, to have love, and to have, very important, the truth. You can't live in the lie. Right. So the 3 most important for me is the truth, freedom, and love.
So let's hope we can keep all these 3 values in our lives. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.